Matthew Curtis, welcome to the Busy Working Show. How have you been doing, man?
Paul, we've been wonderful. Just enjoying the summer up in Michigan, and we got another startup. So those adventures are always fun.
Absolutely. So, all right, another startup, which implies that there have been some before. So,
Yeah,
so walk us through it. How'd you get here?
some is an understatement. Hopefully, my mother doesn't listen to this because she'll have to hear all the horror stories again. Um, but so I think my first startup we did software for scrap metal, and so that was really it was an awesome industry that we went into. I love industries that are a little bit backwards, a little bit there's sort of nitty gritty to find out, and so that was really exciting. I've done healthcare. We
Yeah,
did both a startup for ovarian cancer detection, and we did some for the transplants
yeah.
of peripheral blood stem cells to help cure cancer. That was
hmm
really exciting. I've done lottery. I went out and sued a whole bunch of the states over their lottery practices. That was kind of a startup, but more of a just like I don't like lotteries and I like
Wait
suing
a
the government.
second. A whole bunch of the states or all of the states?
I didn't sue Utah because they don't have a lottery. So
So,
Utah had the exemption. Um, yeah, so
oh,
that was
that's
a lot of fun. And yeah, so the whole bunch. I most recently spent 2.5 years at a another startup that went on to a Series C, um,
nice.
doing they're in healthcare, so they're H1, and what they do is they
Mhm.
connect doctors. But there's
Yeah,
a huge problem in the medical field of just knowing who the expert is in uh,
sure.
in healthcare and just trying to connect those with different players, whether that's to grants, whether that's to hospitals, whether that's to pharmaceutical companies. There's a huge information problem there. And coming out of that, expertise was on my mind, and
hmm
started Insight Voice really out of just like wanting to hear great questions answered by
hmm
experts. What we
Yeah.
noticed is that, a lot of times the person who writes the book or a person who is really great on social doesn't have the deep level of expertise that someone even down the street from you has. And so
Sure.
we just want to give the toolbox for those experts who want to grow their content and want to build business to do
hmm
it on Insight Voice. So we made a really simple tool for that.
Yeah. So Insight Voice is your most recent startup. So yeah,
Recent and active, recent and active.
recent and active, and it's growing pretty fast, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've signed up over 1,500 users so far, and that's been just by me using the tool on
hmm
LinkedIn in my blog. So that's been like a really good proof point for it. We've got just over 100 that are, I would call them active. They're on there. They're recording a piece of content at least twice a week. That's sort of our barrier.
Nice.
And it's really fun for me because I get to hear and see, when they post it,
hmm
all the expertise that they have in their fields. We have real estate agents, we
Yeah.
have doctors, we have lawyers, we've got marketers on there. Everyone's on there just sharing the unique insights that their customers are asking, and just getting out and telling the story.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant because there are a lot of voices out there that need to be heard, and for whatever reason they are not being heard.
Yeah,
Many of I think, and one of the biggest barriers is just the tools and the access and the ease of things to do it. So that sounds pretty fantastic.
yeah.
That's and go ahead.
What we noticed is that like they have spent all of their time learning the expertise of their trades. So, like an accountant, for an example,
hmm
they know more about accounting and the practice of that. But the content world is so strange to them because, like,
Yeah.
if you're writing a blog, you got to learn SEO. If you're
Yeah.
writing LinkedIn, you've got to learn how to write these little short sentences and like paragraphs and all this stuff. So there's a format of what is good for each
hmm
content platform, and you know that as a marketer.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's hard. It's hard to translate real expertise in a field into each of these areas, and we're just really really committed to doing that for them.
Yeah. And I, that's important. Is something that we talk about a lot on this show is building a legacy. And there's a level of expertise out there that never sees the light of day in a proper manner, in a way that can be beneficial for the masses and to be kind of cataloged. Um, so what have you seen, one, in your career? Like, what does legacy mean to you? seeing having been through all the things that you just articulated about your journey to this today?
Yeah, I think that the best legacy that can be left is culture. And I would define culture as like a group's habits of actions.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at great companies, they all have great cultures that support both the work that happens within work, but then also the family life outside of that.
Sure.
Because those are like essential and really important. And so, that when we're a small team, we just got two people, and one of them's in the Philippines. But when I think about what we want to build, and that's probably inaccurate. What we have is we have all of our customers, right?
Yeah.
They're part of the team as well. And what we're really trying to do is make sure that they can get out and grow their businesses, because you can't have a purpose without profit. My friend Chris Pfeiffer always says that. But you've got to have the time in your life to enjoy the things. And so we want to make it so that experts can get on, share their expertise, and grow in knowledge, and yet still have the time to experience and share with their families and throughout their life.
Yeah. Now, in your career, who have you come across that you emulate in the way that you do business, but also the manner in which you're building your legacy?
I think my favorite person is Malcolm McLean. Do you know who Malcolm McLean is?
I don't, but I
Malcolm
can't wait to
McLean.
learn.
There was a great book written about the history of the shipping container,
Huh.
and it was it's called The Box, and it took off in like 2010 to 2015. I think everyone in
Mm-hmm.
Silicon Valley read it.
Yeah.
And it's a story of like the shipping container isn't like that interesting of an invention, right? We
Mm-hmm.
don't think of it as an interesting invention, but other than
Yeah.
the computer, it has like reshaped our lives in the most profound way over the last 70 years, more than anything else, more than fusion, like nuclear fusion, more than I don't like. I would even argue almost as much as the computer, because it changed the geography of
Yeah.
economics.
But not
Um,
or the
what's that?
stick, but not Velcro the sticky note.
Velcro has a cool song, right? Have you heard the Velcro song?
I haven't. There's a
So the
Velcro song.
lawyers at Velcro made a song that they don't want your hook and loop called Velcro because they want to retain the trademark.
Oh,
Yes, no,
nice.
duct tape, Velcro, those are really important and essential
Yeah.
tools in my life, and zip
Yeah.
ties. Ties also important.
Yes. Yeah.
But what he did is he built like, I would say it's probably like a very missionary based company, and so
Mm-hmm.
they were internal to the company. They were rigorously committed to making transportation possible and
Yeah.
making it. I mean, they had to take on many different type of industries, all this kind of regulation to be able to put cargo in a box and ship it all the way across the world. Put cargo in a box and ship it everywhere,
Yeah.
and the willingness of that company and that culture to overcome every obstacle. Like you couldn't own a freight truck transportation and, and train transportation the same way. So they built a bunch of different corporate structures. It was really interesting.
Huh.
They were focused on the end goal, and they overcame every obstacle to get there, like
Yeah.
over a 20-25 year period. And I think that from a startup's perspective, that's what you have to do. Like you have to be committed to the end goal, and then you have to work your way to get there. But while balancing that with maintaining like enough life for your company and your culture to be able to have a family and life as well. Um, he,
Sure.
he was he was like one of the biggest donors to Wake Forest, so that's like part of his legacies as well.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So that being said, what are some ways, or are you at a point in your career where you're thinking about that community involvement, that philanthropic work? What does that mean to you now versus, maybe previously, and how it's shaping your future?
Yeah, I would say that the biggest thing for me is that I would say during my 20s, and because I started all these startups, I would work 100, 120 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very committed to seeing all of the effort go into one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the mission and the legacy was tied up with the thing that I was working on.
Yeah.
I would say I've backed away from that now, and I think that there are other things that were like I'm also prioritizing. We're
Mm-hmm.
heavily involved in our church.
Yeah.
We were talking about this before. Just being involved in like a local like being involved in the lives of the men and women in our community is really important to us.
Yeah.
And we carve out time for that. We carve out time. We work with Father Rob. He does excellent work at our
Yeah.
parish, the fastest growing in our diocese. And I
I
sort of
love it.
just to him like, hey, like whatever technology, whatever marketing, whatever you need done, like I've got 10 hours a week. You just let me know what you need. And
Oh, that's
so
great.
that's been really great to carve out for that. I don't know what the legacy looks like from a philanthropic perspective. I would say that my wife and I are discovering that.
Sure.
But it's like effort that we're putting into that now.
Yeah.
And so that's I don't have a clear definition, but I think we're getting to one.
Yeah. Okay. So that brings up another question for both just from a business legacy, but also a philanthropic legacy. If you were to write yourself a letter to be opened in 15, 20 years, what would you write yourself?
Oh boy. Um, I would write that I'm in the process of discovery. I think that like um I don't think we want to write ends to stories. And so I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't like and I think that's true of certain points in your life. Like certain points you have to discover an end and you have to work towards it. With
Sure.
Insight Voice, we've discovered an end and we're going to work towards it. We're going to help every expert grow their business by sharing their expertise, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's one train line that's going.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that having started so many businesses, what's really important is to be in a like have two paths, be working on one path towards that discovery, but then to
Mm-hmm.
be spending the time to think about like what is the next path. We think about it with the church. What is the one thing that faith is collapsing in the United States, faith is collapsing in the world.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that we can do
Mm-hmm.
to increase the trajectory of more people discovering and having an encounter with God, right?
Yeah.
We
Absolutely.
don't have the answer to that.
Sure.
In the letter, I would say, hey, we're spending the time to figure out what that one or two things are. And then hopefully down the line we can make a bet um, on actually building what that area is. Whether it's
Yeah.
if it's technology, great. I would love that. That would be much more fun.
Sure. Yeah.
But
Kind of fits your wheelhouse.
it could be something else, which makes me very uncomfortable. It could be like talking to people and dealing with their issues, which oh man,
Yeah. It's easier to deal with just the animals on the farm, right?
it's much more fun. The animals are wonderful.
Yeah. How are the goats? You have baby goats, right?
So we have one baby goat and we have two adult goats.
Gotcha.
The hard part right now is the weaning. Weaning is a process.
Yeah.
The little baby goat wants to go drink from its mother all the time, and we want the goat milk. We've made cheese, we're making ice cream, and it's really wonderful.
Okay, so that makes me think of something else that I know about you.
Yeah.
What is the bread garage? I've got to hear again. What is the bread garage?
So the bread garage is like a philosophical mindset, first of all.
Yeah.
Um, and the mindset is about craft. So I was in 2010. I just graduated college. I had a philosophy degree. I was out in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
I was working at some job, and I met this guy, Chris Pfeiffer. Have you met Chris?
I've not met Chris
Chris
yet.
is a wild man. You've got to meet Chris. You should have him on the podcast.
Oh,
And
totally.
we said, we're in this little town, right? Middle of
Mm-hmm.
nowhere, 15,000 people. The best food you can get there is not very good. And he runs some big manufacturing company. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just in the early part of my career. We said we want to make something great here, and we want to make something great here that can be made everywhere. So we built this little bakery out of a wood-fired oven. We put it in his garage, and we committed to doing the hardest kind of bread, which is sourdough. And sourdough is hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sourdough is
Yeah.
much harder in Appalachia because the temperature fluctuations are like 50 degrees a day.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the control in baking is time and temperature,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't control the temperature in a
Yeah.
garage in basically West Virginia. So we committed to it, and we did it for a couple of years, and we had we had parties every Friday night with all of the local neighbors and local neighborhood kids coming over to celebrate the breaking of bread. It was very biblical.
Yeah.
And we go and sell at the farmers market. So we were supposed to do it this year up here in Michigan, but next year we're putting in a bakery in our barn, so it'll be the bread barn.
That's
And
awesome.
we're gonna revive the spirit of the bread garage up in Michigan.
That's awesome. So, all right, you telling me that story, I'm seeing a theme in what you've built over your career.
Okay.
It's not just like kind of using software and off the wall, but it's using software to make an impact and make something unique. And even although bread's not software, what you just said to me was you wanted to make something good and special for this area.
Right. Yeah. Right? So I think that I think that the software is a tool, right? And it's an excellent tool because it's widely distributed. Like the main component is that you and I can be using it and we're a couple thousand miles away. And so that's why it's a great platform for greatness. But I think that we're mostly focused on like elevating people. The bread elevated people, like it rose. And we hope the Insight Voice does the same thing, is that it allows you to take your expertise and grow your business by sharing it very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And in a very impactful way, not just from getting it out to the masses and you're really leveraging LinkedIn but you're connected to everything. But I see it as like a little bit of fulfilling a need for an individual to share what they've learned.
Yeah. Yeah. And
that's an important thing.
Yeah. It's a really important thing. Like, once I wanted to start a little wood-fired pizza restaurant where we would have a really high price for the product.
Yeah.
But then we would lower the price as people told us more interesting things about their lives. Because I think it's really important. I think that storytelling, sharing is something that's extremely important and something that we deeply yearn for.
Yeah.
But it's actually harder in our lives today. I think that part of it's we have more means of distributing our content, but there's so much more fear with sharing it. And so, I don't know. I love the old troubadours. I thought about calling this company Troubadour because I love the French minstrels that sing.
That's awesome. Well, that is a really good point. I mean, I harp on this a lot. Is from a marketing and branding perspective, the vast majority of the time, people are not transactional. They're in a mode that they can build relationships.
Yep.
And that's what's so brilliant about Insight Voice is it makes it a lot easier from a functional standpoint of all right, I know I need to do this. How am I going to do it? Well, it allows that to happen, but that's such an important part because if 95, 97% of a buyer's life is not transactional, you got to build a relationship with them or you're not going to be part of the mix once they become transactional.
Right. And the purpose of all content marketing is to make it so that when everyone has if you're solving an important problem, which if you're in business, you're solving a problem for somebody.
Yeah.
The point of content marketing is so that when people recognize they have the problem, they think of you, right? And so it's not going to close the deal. It's not going to it's not magic. It doesn't solve the problem for you, but it gives them the first thought that they have associated with this problem or associated with the solution should be your business. Especially if you're running a smaller company. Honestly, we're not going to be that helpful for larger companies. Like if Microsoft called me and they wanted to use it, I would say, you don't have relationships. You sell a commodity. This isn't helpful for you. Yeah. But for small business owners who are, especially those whose buyers are buying your expertise.
Yeah.
It's not a commodity. It's how can you help me? I need. There's a whole bunch of ambiguity in the problem. For those people, if you can get people to trust your expertise, trust your knowledge in related areas, they'll come to you and solve the problem.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. And when they have that need and they look at a list that it used to be the phone book, now it's Google.
Now it's Google.
A list shows up, they are going to gravitate to somebody that they know on that list or have a relationship with. And that's just the beautiful thing about Insight Voice is it allows you to get that out and have that available to build that relationship with your customers.
Yep. And that's like, people want to know you. People want to buy from people. People want to trust people. And I would say in an age of AI, they want to trust more and they want to know more.
Oh, for sure.
It's a simple process. Just get on every day, record a quick video answering a question that you know extremely well because this is what you do for your business, and you'll see the fruits.
Yeah. Oh, it's fascinating. So, well, I am very grateful that you took the time today, and I'm pretty excited to follow along, not only with Insight Voice, but now the barn bread. How are we're gonna work on that one?
We're gonna work on the naming. The farm, my wife wanted to be called the Birds and the Bees Family Farm. So we've already got t-shirts for that. So we're somehow gonna have to work it in there.
I love it. All right, well, keep us posted.
All right, thanks so much, Paul.